Pittsburgh, Montreal, 9:10 on the rotation here. We got Pittsburgh minus 175 to minus 180 as road favorites. The total pretty much 6 straight across the board in this hockey game. Pittsburgh Penguins losing last night to the New York Rangers 4-3 in overtime. Bit of a surprising loss just because we know the New York Rangers sort of in a look toward the future kind of mantra right now. And Pittsburgh had a lead in that hockey game. That's the surprising part. Got out to a 2-0 lead. Rangers tie it up 2-2. Pittsburgh quickly gets back in front 3-2. And then the Rangers tie it up with a power play goal a couple of minutes after that, 3-3, and then they end up winning in overtime by a score of 4-3. So now you got Pittsburgh off a loss that I'm sure doesn't sit well with them. And now a Pittsburgh team that, they've lost 2 of their last 3. They lost in Toronto on Saturday night. They bounced back to beat Dallas, then lose last night by a score of 4-3 in overtime. Now you go on the road, play second night of back-to-backs here against this Montreal team. But from a back-to-back standpoint, it's not been terrible by any stretch for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They started out the season, Pittsburgh, playing really poorly on the second night of back-to-back games, but they've been better lately. They've now gotten that overall record. I think they started something like 0-6 first 6 games of the season playing second night of back-to-backs. They're 7-8 now on the season, second night of back-to-back games. So that tells you right there that they've been better in that role. Don't forget, after they lost at Toronto on Saturday, they played a back-to-back at home against Dallas on Sunday, bounced back with a great effort, 3-1 against Dallas, outshot the Stars 30-18, so they controlled the flow of that game pretty much from start to finish. And Pittsburgh is 4-3. Second night of back-to-backs off a loss this season, and that's the role they're in here tonight against Montreal. For me, obviously, if I like Pittsburgh, I'd have to go puck line at this point, lay the goal and a half here against this Montreal team. Montreal actually did have one of their better efforts last time out against the Dallas Stars, 4-2 win for them. Antti Niemi was very, very good in between the pipes for the Montreal Canadiens that night. Not surprising, let's not forget. Antti Niemi, a Dallas Stars cast-off. You think there might have been a little bit of a extra incentive to really bury his old team last night, hurt their playoff chances, and Antti Niemi was very, very good. Had a little chip on his shoulder playing that Dallas team the other night and played a really strong game in net for the Canadiens, leading his team to victory that night. It's time for him to get another start, Claude Julien. I know a lot of the time lately he's been Niemi one game, Charlie Lindgren the next, and back and forth. Enough with Lindgren. He's awful. He's been terrible lately. He's been absolutely horrendous. It's time to, this Niemi's showing you he's keeping your team and giving your team a chance to win games. Stick with him, and I'm thinking tonight he finally will realize that and have this drilled through his head that let's give Niemi a second straight start. We'll see, but that's why you got to keep an eye on your goalie confirmations, because especially with Montreal team, you'll never know what exactly they're going to do. From a Pittsburgh perspective, it was Casey DeSmith last night in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I would expect to see Tristan Jarry tonight. It is the second night of back-to-back games. Of course, Matt Murray's still out with a concussion, and from what I've heard, he's still not coming back anytime soon. So this is still Jarry and DeSmith for the foreseeable future for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I lean a little bit to the puck line on Pittsburgh here, but I'm probably going to stay off it just because, second night of back-to-backs here. And if Niemi does get the start, as much as he's been very, very susceptible in the past, he's not been that way lately. He's actually played very, very good lately for Montreal. So it all depends on the goalie situation there for me. Andrew McGinnis is involved, though, with the Penguins and Canadiens. Dana as well, and we'll get their thoughts on this game. We'll go to Andrew first. What do you see here in Montreal tonight?
Yeah, guys, one thing to start really that I can look at in this game is just, first of all, back to back or not, guys, I think flat out Pittsburgh's going to be pissed. I think that they're not going to be able to digest that loss from last night. I mean, that is absolutely pathetic, really, for a hockey team at that caliber. For that standard of a hockey team, you should absolutely be furious. I hope that they got absolutely ripped last night in the locker room, because this just can't happen. This just literally can't happen for a back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champion team. And I know people can say, that stuff happens every now and then, but it's not one of those things that can happen if you're going to go back to that same situation again this year. And they're too talented of a team to lose to a bummy team that's almost like a friggin' farm team these days. I mean, they pretty much lost to a farm team last night, and somehow they were able to make something out of it. I mean, It was pretty sad to see that happen, and when it heads to OT, uh, that was just not really a good finish. So look, I just think with the talent and the depth level of this team, I mean, no, it's second to none right now. I mean, down the middle, Crosby, Malkin, Brassard. I mean, Malkin's playing better than he has in years. I mean, he's looking amazing, looking young again, looking like everything is easy to him, coming so natural. The scoring ability just seems very easy. And then alongside everybody on the wings, let's not forget Kessel. He's down there on the third line with Brassard. That says something right there. You've got Phil Kessel on the third line. He's still playing well. And then you look at Carl Hagelin, Patrick Hornquist, Connor Sherry, Jake Gensel. Like all these guys you can count on. It's not just one or two guys with this Pittsburgh Penguins team. And I'm telling you right now, I don't care if the trends are under for this series recently with Montreal and Pittsburgh. I do think the puck line could hit, but I like the over in this game. I think right now for the Montreal Canadiens, we all know it's an absolute shit show. We can go on and on about what the hell this Montreal Canadiens team has been doing all year because I feel like they're just waiting for the draft at this point. I mean, you want to talk about GMs getting called on for tanking in the NBA right now? I think Mark Bergevin should do everything he can that these guys don't win games. I mean, realistically, what are they really doing right now? What is their team? What are their lineups even looking like? I mean, it's an absolutely disgrace. I mean, so some of their players that are on their second line right now wouldn't even be on the fourth line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So to me, I don't even Niemi's been looking all right, but I don't think it's anything to get too excited about. And as far as the whole Lindgren situation goes, I think that he plays great some games, and all of a sudden he's a complete different guy. But I also think that has something to do with the insecurity of not knowing when you're going to be back in the AHL, when you're going to be up and down. Where are you? What's your security? How where you're staying this night and where you're going to play from that night. I think that's also has a factor. But Niemi kind of knew his role and knew what was going to happen if Price went down. He's no all-star goalie to me. He's the same old guy that I know, the same old guy that worn quite a few jerseys in his lifetime in the NHL. So I think that should be quite the goal fest, guys. I'm recommending a little bit smaller on the puck line, but I do like the over as my official play as well in this game. I mean, just looking at the last couple of games or the matchup head to head between these two teams, Penguins are 4-1 in the last 5 meetings. But look, it's trends to the under, and I think that's because you look at Murray, you look at Fleury, you look at Price in the past, but these two goalies mixed with the Habs defense that they have right now. I mean, it's kind of funny. They always had not really the best defense, and somehow they managed to make it even worse this year. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting to look at. It's gross. I don't even like watching Habs games these days. I have to do it. I sit through a couple of them. I tune in every now and then, but this team is not a team that's gonna be able to do anything against this Pittsburgh Penguins team. I'm telling you. I don't care if anyone says motivation is not a good excuse or a good way to look at some things. Sometimes you look at a game, you look at a way a team lost last night, and it's absolute bullshit. And Pittsburgh is going to be fired up. They are a way better team. They are on a complete different level that Montreal is right now. And I think this should be a very high scoring game. And I think in the process, Pittsburgh will cover the puck line. It just Montreal has nothing in the cards. I mean, their record speaks for itself. 3-7 in their last 10 versus the Metropolitan. They're 10-25 in their last 35 overall games. 1-5 in their last 6 Thursday games. And there's nothing really more to say, boys. I just think that this team has no caliber, has no chance against this Pittsburgh Penguins team. Like Dana likes to say sometimes, this is clearly just the better team. And sometimes you got to just look at it, look at the paper, look what the stats tell you, and look. Plus 160 on the puck line, I'll happily take that.
All right, plus 160 on the puck line and the over. You like both of those in that game. Over 6, Pittsburgh and Montreal. Let's see. We got Dana also involved here in the Pittsburgh-Montreal battle tonight. Dana, what do we see happening here?
Well, I have to be honest. I mean, there's nothing that warms the heart more than to hear a Habs fan just rip on his own team. I mean, this is something that I could listen to just about all day long. So you guys all made great points. And the other thing, too, is I'm handicapping this game based on the fact that that Jari and Niemi is going to be in net tonight. So that's my expected matchup. The other thing, too, is I got asked last night, how do you handle, back-to-back situations? And I know sometimes we talk about it in the way that we think a team is going to be tired, so that's going to create turnovers, which is going to lead to offense, or we think a team is not going to be tired, which is also going to lead to offense because they handled their roster better the night before. And if you look at the Penguins, especially their defensemen, and that's who I really look at. Did Mike Sullivan manage their minutes last night? Yeah, he absolutely did. And then I'm not going to go up and down the box score, but if you do look at it, there's guys that are in the 20s except Chris Letang, who he sent out there to kind of give his normal amount of minutes out there to give some stability, and then he gave a lot of the guys that were getting in that 20 to 23 range. Most of them are under 20 minutes. So he did manage the game, knowing that they were playing in back-to-back games tonight. So anyway, as far as the total is concerned on this, I've said this 100 times. I cannot go against a team that's got a 90-point guy like Phil Kessel on his third line, on their third line, like the Penguins do. This team is loaded offensively, and and we're looking at things from a totals perspective. So honestly, I could care less what happened last night. I hope they do have a defensive breakdown again. But for me, I would rather be on the side of the team that I know can put up 6 by themselves rather than cross their fingers that the opposing goaltender, and in this case, Niemi, stands on his head against one of the best offensive teams in the league. That's not a position that I want to be going into headed with my money backing this game. This is a team that has not scored less than 3 goals in back-to-back games since December 31st, so you know they're consistent offensively. And now they face Montreal, who obviously, like Andrew said, is not very good defensively. And to me, Claude Julien's trying to play his system with guys that just can't play it well. They're not very good defensively. They started to get some production from their top 3 lines. As long as I know and I feel confident that I can get something, like Galchenyuk has 8 points in his last 10 games. They're getting something, not just 1 or 2 lines that I can rely on. That's a little bit of a sign of hope offensively for Montreal. But I think pace of play tonight is going to be great. I don't think you're going to see anything as a because they played last night. I don't think it's going to affect tonight's game. In fact, I think the pace of play is going to be even more. And I think that gives a team like Montreal that may not create a lot of their own chances, will give them more opportunities to score than they would on a normal basis. So I'm going over the total tonight as well.
All right, over 6, Pittsburgh, Montreal. For Dana Lane, we'll see if Pittsburgh can right the ship following a frustrating loss in which they had multiple leads and couldn't hold either one last night against the New York Rangers.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.